Islam, Islam, Islam. This is Brother Loville once again, back to demonstrate with the family once again, and to say happy holy day to all of the heirs and beneficiaries of the present Moroccan Empire. We're about to open up with prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Jew Ali, Ameen. Allah bound our hearts and minds back to ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles. We ask this in our holy name in the seventh Elohim. Ameen. So, usually, it is customary for us to open up our meetings according to the Circle 7, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And that's typically done by reading the Divine Constitution and bylaws. So we're doing things a bit unorthodox. Instead, we're going to read, well, we don't want to change up anything, but this is just to give you the format of how it goes when we have meetings within the Moorish Science Temple of America. That is usually the structure. We are going to do things a little bit informally because we demonstrate from this YouTube channel. So that being said, it's customary to, when you are before Divine Minister with Sheikh, to have a reading of our laws. And then there's also reading from something within the Circle 7 Koran. But our people are so sick, we have elected to do things unorthodox on the fly because men comprehend things by what they see and do. And what that means is that what's the only thing that's necessary for us to do is to remain consistent in putting this truth out there as it relates to the birthrights. I had a few interactions with some Moors that came on here yesterday, and they were basically building about the various treaties, which is the supreme law of the land. I remember being in debates with certain Moors about the Treaty of Algeciras and other various treaties. But please be clear and understand that this is not a backdoor thing where you can pretend that you have an understanding of everything as it works and as it relates. And this is why it's necessary to come out here and demonstrate and teach the people the truth about their nationality birthrights. So with that being said, I'm going to have a reading of the Circle 7 Koran. This is also a trust instrument. It's all based on the trust. So everything that was brought to us is in trust. It's been copyrighted, published, and all of that. So we're going to have a reading of chapter. What we went over yesterday is we want to go ahead and read it again because the way it works is that this is like a spell book. We have to invoke the energy of the prophet, making sure that we share information correctly. So typically what we do is we read everything until we get into the meat of what's within the document. So the first thing is to read the covers of the Circle 7 Koran. We're going to do that. Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Circle 7. Divinely prepared by the noble prophet Jew Ali. by the guiding of his Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God Allah. Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Know thyself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree, the uniting of Asia. And then we go inside. Know thyself in Allah, the genealogy of Jesus, life works of Jesus in India, in Europe, in Africa, and in the land of Egypt. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of his higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instruction of all Moorish Americans, etc. Then we get deeper in. We see the prophet and the founder, Noble Drew Ali, the prophet and the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to redeem the people from their sinful ways. All right. Sultan Abdul Aziz Abu Saud, the descendant of Hagar, now the head of the holy city of Mecca. The divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. The genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all of those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life works and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all of those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of to hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet, and the servant is worthy of his hire. You can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages, have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All rights, all authority, and rights of publishing this pamphlet of 1927 by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Industrious Act of the Muslims of Northwest and East Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hammatites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. So, the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 1, the creation and fall of man. Time never was when man was not. If life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite mind can comprehend things infinite. All finite things are subject unto change. All finite things will cease to be because there was a time when they were not. The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change. Yea, from the finite point of view, the time will come when they will be no more. But man himself is not the body, nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. Creative fate gave to man, to spirit man, a soul that he might function on the plane of soul. Gave him a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things made manifest. Why did creative fate give to spirit man a soul that he might function on the plane of soul? Why did creative fate give to soul a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things that are made manifest? Hear now, ye cherubim, ye seraphim, ye angels, and ye men. Hear now, O protoplasm, earth, and plant, and beast. Hear now, ye creeping things of earth, ye fish that swim, ye birds that fly. Hear now, ye winds that blow, ye thunders, and ye lightnings of the sky. Hear now, ye spirits of the fire, water, earth, and air. Hear now everything that is or was or evermore will be, for wisdom speaks from out the highest plane of spirit life. Man is a thought of Allah. All thoughts of Allah are infinite. They are not measured up by time. For the things that are concerned with time begin and end. The thoughts of Allah are everlasting unto the past, until the never-ending days to come. And so is man, the spirit man. But man, like every other thought of Allah, was but a seed that held within itself the potencies of Allah, just as the seed of any plant of earth holds deep within itself the attributes of every part of that special plant. So spirit man, as a seed of Allah, held deep within himself the attribute of every part of Allah. Now seeds are perfect, yea, as perfect as the source from which they come, but they are not unfolded into life made manifest. The child is as perfect as the mother is. So man, the seed, must be deeply planted in his soil, that he might grow, unfold, as does the bud unfold to show the flower. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah was full ordained to be the Lord of the plane of soul and of the plane of things made manifest. So Allah, the husband of everything that is, threw forth this human seed into the soil of soul. It grew apace, and man became a living soul, and he became the Lord of all the kingdom of the soul. Hark now, let every creature hear. The plane of the soul is but the ether of the spirit plane, vibrating not so fast. And in the slower rhythm of this plane, the essence of life are manifest. The perfumes and the odors, the true sensations, and the all of love manifest. And these soul attributes became a body beautiful. A multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul. And he tarries many ages until his lessons are all learned. Upon the boundaries of the plane of soul, the ethers began to vibrate slower still. And then the essence took on a final garb. The perfumes and odors and the true sensations and the all of love were clothed in flesh. And man was clothed in flesh. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. And so a carnal was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshly things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, that he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. Let every living thing stand still and hear. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold. But let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah, who rule the solar stars, are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. When man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served his purpose well, and it will fall and will be no more. Then he will stand untrammeled on the plane of soul, where he must full complete his victories. Unnumbered foes will stand before man upon the plane of soul. These he must overcome, yea, overcome them every one. Thus hope will ever be his beacon light. There is no failure for the human soul, for Allah is leading on and victory is assured. Man cannot die. The spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die. When man has conquered every foe upon the plane of soul, the seed will have full opened out, will have unfolded in the holy breath. The garb of soul will then have served its purpose well, and man will need it nevermore, and it will pass and will be no more. And man will then attain unto the blessedness of perfectness and at one with Allah. Praise Allah, Moors, praise Allah. So since this is the holy day, we want to make sure we demonstrate more of the spirituality demonstration, so that Moors have an understanding of the treasures that we have before us. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate to chapter 11. This has always been one of my favorite chapters as well. Okay. This is a very powerful chapter, and one that, one's referred to often. The Divine Instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 11. Jesus and Bharata, together they read the sacred books. Among the Buddhist priests was one who saw a lofty wisdom in the words that Jesus spoke. It was Bharata Arabo. Together, Jesus and Bharata read the Jewish Psalms and prophets, read the Vedas, the Avesta, and the wisdom of Gautama. And as they read and talked about the possibilities of man, Bharata said, "Man is the marvel of the universe. He is a part of everything, for he has been a living thing on every plane of life. Time was when man was not, and then he was a bit of formless substance in the moods of time, and then a protoplast. By universal law, all things tend upward to a state of perfectness. The protoplast evolved, becoming worm, then reptile, bird, and beast, and then at last it reached the form of man. Now man is himself is mind, and mind is here to gain perfection by experience. And mind is often manifest in fleshly form, and in the form that's suited to its growth. So mind may manifest as worm, or bird, or beast, or man. The time will come when everything of life will be evolved unto the state of perfect man. And after man is man in perfectness, he will evolve to higher forms of life." And Jesus said, "Barato, Arabo, who told you this? That mind, which is man, may manifest in flesh of beast or bird or creeping thing?" Barato said, "From time which man remembers not, our priests have told us so, and so we know." And Jesus said, "Enlightened Arabo, are you a mastermind and do not know that man knows naught by being told? Man may believe what others say, but thus he never knows. If man would know, he must himself be what he knows. Do you remember, Arabo, when you were ape or bird or worm? Now, if you have no better proving of your plea than that the priests have told us so, you do not know, you simply guess. Regard not then what any man has said. Let us forget the flesh and go with mind into the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget. And backwards through the ages, masterminds can. Time never was when man was not. That which begins will have an end. If man was not, the time will come when he will not exist. From Allah's own record book we read that Triune Allah breathed forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. The Hebrews called these 7 spirits Elohim. And these are they who, in their boundless power, created everything that is or was. These spirits of the Triune Allah moved on the face of the boundless space, and 7 others were, and every other had its form of life. These forms of life were but the thought of Allah, clothed in the substance of their ether planes. Men call these ether planes the planes of protoplasm, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, and cherubim. These planes with all their of Allah are never seen by the eyes of man in flesh. They are composed of substance far too fine for fleshly eyes to see. and still they constitute the soul of things. And with the eyes of soul, all creatures see these ether planes in all the forms of life. Because all forms of life on every plane are thoughts of Allah. All creatures think, and every creature is possessed of will, and in its measure has the power to choose. And in their native planes, all creatures are supplied with nourishment from the ethers of their planes. And so it was with every living thing until the will became a sluggish will. And then the ethers of the protoplasm, the earth, the plant, the beast, the man began to vibrate very slow. The ethers became more dense, and all of the creatures of these planes were clothed with coarser garbs of flesh, which man can see. And thus the coarser manifest, which men call physical, appeared. And this is what is called the fall of man. But man fell not alone, for protoplasm, earth, and plant, and beast were all included in the fall. The angels and the cherubim fell not. Their will was never strong. And so they held the ethers of their planes in harmony with Allah. Now, when the ether reached this rate of atmosphere, and all of the creatures of these planes must get their food from atmosphere, the conflict came. And then that which the finite man called survival of the best became a law. The stronger ate the bodies of the weaker manifest, and here is where the carnal of evolution had its rise. And now man in his utter shamelessness strikes down and eats the beast consumes the plant thrives on the earth absorbs the plant, the protoplasm, pardon. In yonder kingdom of the soul, this carnal evolution is not known. And the great work of masterminds is to restore the heritage of man and bring him back to his estate that he had lost. When he again will live upon the ethers of his native plane. The thoughts of Allah change not. The manifest of life on every plane unfolds into perfection of their kind. And as the thoughts of Allah can never die, there is no death. There is not death to any being of the seven ethers of the seven spirits of the triune Allah. And so an earth is never a plant, a beast or bird or creeping thing is never man, and man is not and cannot be a beast or bird or creeping thing. The time will come when all of these manifests will be absorbed, and the man and beast and plant and earth and protoplasm will be redeemed. Bharata was amazed. The wisdom of the Jewish sage was revelation unto him. Now Vidyapati, wisest of the Indian sages, chief of the temple Kapivastu, heard Bharata speak to Jesus on the origin of man, and heard the answer of the Hebrew prophet. And he said, "You priests of Kapivastu, hear me speak. We stand today upon a crest of time. 6 times ago, a master soul was born who gave a glorious light to man. And now a master sage stands in the temple of Kapivastu. The Hebrew prophet is the rising star of wisdom, deified. He brings to us a knowledge of the secret things of Allah, and all of the world will hear his words and glorify his name. You priest of Kapivastu, stay. Be still and listen when he speaks. He is the living oracle of Allah." And all the priests gave thanks and praised the Buddha of enlightenment. That's powerful. Okay. So we're going to go into go a little deeper here. Now, this chapter, this is a holy day. Check this out. And this also backs up the demonstration as it relates to meditation and why it's good to meditate. Islam. The divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 12. Jesus teaches the common people at the spring, tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. In silent meditation, Jesus sat beside a flowing spring. It was a holy day, and many people of the servant caste were near the place. And Jesus saw the hard-drawn lines of toil on every brow in every hand. There was no look of joy in any face. Not one of all the group could think of anything but toil. And Jesus spoke to one and said, "Why are you all so sad? Have you no happiness in life?" The man replied, "We scarcely know the meaning of that word. We toil to live and hope for nothing but else but toil. And bless the day when we can cease our toil and lay down and rest in the Buddha city of the dead." And Jesus' heart was stirred with pity and with love for these poor toilers. And he said, "Toil should not make a person sad. Men should be happiest when they toil. When hope and love are back of toil, all of life is filled with joy and peace. And this heaven, do you not know that such a heaven is for you?" The man replied, "Of heaven we have heard, but when it is so far away, and we must live so many lives before we reach that place." And Jesus said, "My brother man, your thoughts are wrong. Your heaven is not far away, and it is not a place of metes and bounds. It is not a country to be reached. It is a state of mind. Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators and make our own. Now cease to seek for heaven in the sky. Just open up the windows of your hearts, and like a flood of light, a heaven will come and bring you boundless joy. Then the toil will be no cruel task." The people were amazed and gathered close to hear this strange young master speak, imploring him to tell them more about the Father God, Allah, about the heaven that man could make on earth, about the boundless joy. And Jesus spake a parable. He said, "A certain man possessed a field. The soil was hard and poor. By constant toil, he scarcely could provide food to keep his family from want. One day, the miner, who could see beneath the soil in passing on his way, saw this poor man in his unfruitful field. He called the weary toiler and said, 'My brother, know you not that just below the surface of your barren field, rich treasures lie concealed? You plow and sow and reap in a scanty way, and that day by day you tread upon a mine of gold and precious stones. This wealth lies not upon the surface of the ground, but if you will dig away the rocky soil and delve down deep into the earth, you will need no longer till the soil for naught.' The man believed. The miner surely knows, and I will find the treasures hidden in my field. And then he dug away the rocky soil, and deep down in the earth he found a mine of gold. And Jesus said, the sons of men are toiling hard on desert plains and burning sands and rocky soils, are doing what their fathers did, not dreaming that they could do aught else. Behold, a master comes and tells them of the hidden wealth, that underneath the rocky soil of carnal things are treasures that no man can count. That in the heart the richest gems abound, that he who wills may open the door and find them all. And then the people said, make known to us the way that we may find the wealth that lies within the heart. And Jesus opened up the way. The toiler saw another side of life, and toil became a joy. And much is the same case as relates to the Prophet Noble Ali. And a lot of people question what we say about the trust, the fact that he did leave us a trust. And many people are dismissive of the facts. I mean, heck, I have people in my own family that they find it hard to believe that a lot of this, that the wealth is real. And they tend to go back into the cares of the world, not being cognizant of what's been done for them, not being aware and being none the wiser. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And there are certain conditions of a trust. I want to explain what the criteria is in order to become parties to the trust. One of the first covenants is that we are to keep our hearts pure with love and our bodies clean with the water. Another condition, three conditions, and this is basically for all of those who aspire to join Moorish Science Temple of America. US number one is to have race pride. Number two is to be a strong man or woman. And finally, number three is to know that your condition can be better. When the prophet made the call for new members, this was the criteria that he listed as being necessary. Reason being is because, first of all, you have to have race pride. You want to make sure that you have pride in your race. So that would cause one to not have a deprecating mindset. Also, giving honors to the love thought made manifest Prophet Noble Jali and his forerunner Marcus Musias Garvey, who taught that up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. And who also said that thought is the cause of it all. Well, rather, um, what's the thought that I'm reaching for it now more? It's going to come back to me. Oh, intelligence rules the world, and ignorance bears its burden. So that means that we have to be intelligent along all lines and precepts in order to gain access to this trust, and in order to realize that we are beneficiaries of this vast estate. I mean, it's it's not easy, but it's simple. If that makes any sense. And there's a certain fundamental understanding that you have to have as it relates to how the system works, as reserves, as it relates to uh, gold, silver, and finance, or gold, silver, and commerce. All right, and understanding the difference between what a gold certificate or silver certificate is as opposed to a promissory note or Federal Reserve notes. If you look at the current financial system, you will see that there is now, the way the system is working now, there has been more value and credence placed upon the credit system, the credit debit system. All right. So you have other people, they're working for a promise to pay or notes, uh, energy notes, Federal Reserve notes, or whatever you choose to refer to those as. All right. But when you become knowledgeable of trust and everything and how it's working, you realize that it's all based upon energy. And so when you receive compensation, you're being given energy notes, and those notes translate into what can be spent. So when you work so many hours per day, then you earn so much for that hour, or maybe you receive a salary. All right. But when you understand the system and how it works, like things like fractional reserve banking and the fact that the lenders are basing things on the system of promise to pay. You understand what notes are, then you get a better understanding of what the UCC, that's the Uniform Commercial Codes, and the fact that how all these things are linking, how they're lining up. Uh, Islam, Islam, or welcome aboard. Happy Holy Day. And it's brother Afro Samurai, brother or sister, charge of my head and my heart. I don't know if you're a brother or sister, but Islam and welcome. So I was going into drawing some of the jewels on some of the jewels that relates to our lessons. And one of the thoughts that I put out there is that we have to look at it from the perspective of the Prophet Noble Ali, the fact that he came um, in due time. Uh, he also stated that the third and fourth generations will see the good of his works. All right. But let us just examine during the time the prophet came, the fact that he was challenged a lot, and there were a lot of people, there were a lot of unbelievers within his midst, a lot of people that doubted and challenged him. The prophet actually performed miracles for the people to see. He would entertain the Moors, and he would perform many of the same tricks that were done within the Bible. You know, he had the power to manifest healing, and many times people would show up at on location for him to manifest his healing power. All right, so he was truly a prophet uh, in every sense of the word. You know, I understand that you have some people that refer to themselves as prophets, but he was a prophet like none other, and it's the power and duty of prophets, the job that they have and they come to do is to save nations from the wrath of Allah, which is part of what he did. But please understand that just because the wrath has been delayed doesn't mean that we are all good. As it says here, um, divine constant, the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, the end of time, fulfilling of the prophecies. And it reads, and this is the first verse. I'm going to go into this so that we understand that we don't have forever like we think. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So there is a reason why he was sent. And the wrath is even closer to us now than it was during his time. There are many statements within the oral statements of the prophet that we draw off. Like, for example, when he said the third and fourth generations will see the good of his works. And he said many things amongst the Moors and the people, and many of these things were revealed to be the truth. And one of the things he stated was, you're plain rich Moors, you understand? And but in order to be able to benefit from what he brought and taught, we had to understand that we first of all we had to become students of a law, understanding that law governs all events. All right. So that being said, I'm gonna draw some more off of these speeches. Um, there was certain literature that was read at every meeting, and I'm going to go into reading that. All right. So he said, and we're going to get deeper into many of these lessons, many of these speeches, because we don't, we just don't hear it enough of these lessons. There's a lot of people that are leaning on their own understanding rather than uh, the words of the prophet. All right. Now, this is something that's to be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of outside of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so that they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all of these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so that I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being here. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali. Uh, this is another speech that was read at every meeting. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instructions from your prophet, Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you be blessed for the good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Ali. And that is why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Ali, Islam. Islam, happy holy day, Moors. All right. So now there's another speech here that's read at every meeting. All right. Here it is. Prophet warns all Muslims governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. Friday, January 15, 1929. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or in the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button and cease wearing the turban and fez and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet. and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet, by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali, Islam. Okay. Now, this is a special speech right here. It's pretty long-winded, but I'm going to go ahead and get through this because we need to read Islam. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional governments are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. And I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind, to that forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials of your government and ask them under intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of the darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am dependent on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity in mind back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day, they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. It is in all other governments when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro alludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color alludes to anything that is painted, varnished, dyed, and every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy father and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. The free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. And in those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin, which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present state condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things that which brings dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into the marvelous light from the prophet, Islam. Islam, or so just going over all these lessons here, wonderful lessons of the Prophet Noor Ali. Again, to quote what we were just drawing off of the wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name or principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for national free government. So the prophet was instructing us on certain things as it relates to trust. All right. Now, let's just examine what a trust actually is and what it means. A trust is basically something that was created for the benefit of another. All right. So it was very easy for the Prophet Noor Ali to set up a trust for us, even though he had opposition. But the most opposition came from our people, unfortunately. All right. And this is part of the reason why the prophet made this statement in the standing room only crowd one time, the meeting at the temple. Um, the foreign Muslims would come to the temples, and I recall the elders stating that the Moors they had to wake up early if they wanted to get a seat at the temple, especially when the Prophet Noor Ali was in town. Because for all those people that were there, there was only a few faithful. It was only a few faithful. And one time the Prophet Noble Ali was demonstrating, and he got to asking the members. He said, "What are you doing here? Why are you all here?" He said, "I can hold up 5 fingers and have fingers left over if I could count the ones that were with me." And that was maybe his wife or a few loyal members. So he understood exactly what it was. He understood the fact that he had a thankless job. He understood that there was a certain degree of mental sickness. And he also understood that our people were so greatly affected by mental slavery that it would take a miracle to be redeemed. In fact, the Prophet Noble Jali was quoted as saying, the only thing that would surprise him is if Amor would do right. Now, why do you think that the Prophet Noble Jali would say something like that? Well, one of the reasons why he would say something like that is because there was very few people. I mean, it was all you had a lot of these members, they would always speak highly of the Prophet, or he spoke about ones always being up in his face and grinning and skinning and all of that, right? But those that were truly faithful in their hearts, he knew that it would be the ones that would come along in the third and fourth generation that would demonstrate the possibilities and the measures of the truth. In other words, it would be Moors that wouldn't even meet him in the flesh that would bring into the manifest this ideal that he had, that was manifested in his mind. So, so many of you are into what you can see. Like the Prophet, he had a saying, he would say that I'm from Missouri, y'all from Missouri, I got to show y'all. Because men comprehend things by what they see and do. And this fact has been proven to me in my own household. You don't want to study, you don't want to do the hard work that it takes to become the mastermind, but you want to enjoy all of the benefits. You want all the Moorish honors without the hard work. But it was not easy, you see. It was a hard road that the Prophet had to take. And he did this on the strength of love, on his love for his nation. Understanding that he was doing work for a people that were, for the most part, ungrateful. So it was a thankless job that he had. And just consider this. Here is one man who was able to accomplish as much as he did, and this is before the internet, this is before the modern conveniences that we have today. He was able to set up 36 temples, 15 branch temples within, okay? And he was able to amass a following of over 100,000 members. And this was after he was laughed at by the likes of Woodrow Wilson, who said that it would be easier to put pants on a jackass. All right. And the Prophet, he accomplished the impossible, basically, literally the impossible, because he was able to bring all those people together, and he was able to have a convention. And when you look at history, it shows that even before he was off the manifest, before his bed got cold, there were already ones that were trying to take charge of the Moorish situation. You see pictorial proof that the convention was held in between the 15th and the 20th of October. So why did Emilio see the need to change those dates from the from October the 15th and the 20th of each calendar year to October to September 15th to 20th each calendar year? What was the motivation and goal? Why would ones who were right within the bosom of the prophet change and flip out the script so quickly? What was the motivation to even change the convention date? What were they trying to accomplish in changing? See, that's the issue right there. And so there were many agents that were sent in to dis to try to disprove of the prophet and to try to put things in disarray, challenge his authority. All right. And the interesting thing is this: COINTELPRO was inactivated when they saw what the prophet did. They were hell bent on stopping it in every way possible. So much so that they made extraordinary sacrifices to try to create a situation where they would put forth these annual avalanche of lies, and they would use propaganda to the full hilt. And they figured if they could do such a thing, they would affect the level of consciousness that our people would raise up to. And notice that out of all the people that you see getting holidays like Malcolm, Martin Luther King, ironically, his birthday is a national holiday now. And his birthday was 8 days from um, Martin Luther King Jr., right? So ask yourself this: why is it that Martin Luther King Jr. gets the holiday, but not the Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Ask yourself that. Why would they work so hard to keep this information about this man suppressed, who came in due time, teaching our people the truth about their nationality and birthrights? What is it about him that they decide to keep and remain hidden for so long? Oh, for sure, they were jealous of his nobility and fame. Welcome, sister. Yes, they were jealous of his fame and nobility. The fact that he had accomplished so much in the short time that he was here. He disproved of all of the naysayers. Recall that they were jealous, right, of his fame and nobility. We can go back over that. Matter of fact, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, this is part of the reason why he made certain things. Um, he announced that certain things are to be read at every meeting because he wanted to make sure that it was drilled within our psyche and our consciousness to never forget the sacrifices that he made. You understand? And the fact that many of our people thought that he was a joke and unreal until they were proven wrong by the government and the nations of the earth. You see, there were many that challenged his authority at that time, at that hour. And you know what? More have challenged, even to this day, they have challenged his power and authority. A lot of Eels and Bays have did the same thing, challenged his power and authority. And many of them say Islam, he was recognized internationally, Islam system. And unfortunately, many of the people that you have decided to follow have the same position. Many of these people who wear fez and turbans don't like the prophet. They're here to disprove of everything that he did. These people wear eels of bays. These people um, profess to, they say Islam and they say peace and all this, but their hearts are far away from the ideals that the prophet set in place. Many of them will make the excuses of, they will, you know, and I want to get into some of that. I want to, we have to tell the truth where it is, what it is. Like a lot of these people will profess to be followers of CM Bay, all right? And but yet they will contradict the lessons that even he brought. You understand? And he brought things as far as it relates to the Masonic degree. But recall the prophet, he was not into the optics of the Freemasons or anything that the Masons dealt with. All right. And many of you will hold high esteem and honors for the Zodiac Constitution rather than divine Constitution and bylaws. And many of you will profess your love for the prophet, but deep in your heart of hearts, you have nothing but hatred for the man and everything that he represented. You have people that talk more about astrology than they do about the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And that's not to invalidate the science of astrology. Because here in the Circle 7 Koran, I will provide the proof that he did, in fact, draw off of astrology. And one of the statements in the lessons here, I'm drawing off of it now. We're going to show the connection. All right. So when it says that, yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that the cherubim and seraphim who rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah, they will lead to victory. What are the stations of the suns? And who are the rulers of the solar stars? That's how we get into the astrology piece. And I'm gonna show another sign as far as how that's working. We go over to chapter 23. Check this out. The divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 23. Holy instructions for thy children. Consider thou art the parent, the importance of thy trust. The being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or worthless member to the community. Prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with the maxims of truth. Watch the bent of his inclinations, set him right in his youth, and let no evil have gained strength with his years. So shall he rise like the cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doeth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own. Let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shall thou reap. Now, here's what I was drawing off of as it relates to astrology. All right. Teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. Teach him justice, and he will be honored. He shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his whole heart will not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Now, I'm going to break down and give an interpretation of what those mean as far as it relates to the science. You notice he says, teach him, and this corresponds to the energy of the zodiac. Obedience is Aries. Modesty is Taurus. Gratitude is Gemini. And charity is Cancer. Temperance is Leo. And prudence is Virgo. Justice is Libra, Scales. And sincerity is Scorpio. Diligence is Sagittarius. And benevolence is Capricorn. Science is Aquarius. And Pisces is religion. Islam. So, we see the science of the truth that was dropped and brought forth in these lessons and these measures. And when you do the research, you'll find that each of those principles, it deals with that energy. Just like Jesus, justice, okay? The scales of justice, it's Libra, right? So it's all a matter of perspective, right? And this is another reason why the Prophet Noble Ali put the measure out there to not speak radical against any organization, group, or even the church, right? Because there is value in all of it. It's just that you have to know what to put away, what to throw away off of it in order for things to be balanced to where you can make sense of it all. Because see, as with anything else, just like man, truth and falsehood being strange. Man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. So the prophet, being the scientist that he was, understood this fact. So this is part of the reason why many of these individuals do not want you to gain an understanding from the perspective of the prophet, because many of them are charlatans and do not have faith in the prophet. But his work is endured the test of time. Drawing off some of that lemon water. Islam, Moors. Praise Allah. So, but just to give you a perspective and understanding, like when we drawing off of the solar stars, and a lot of Moors have they demonstrate that astrology measure, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a science, all right? And we're supposed to understand it from that perspective. It is scientific, you see. And this is why this is the trust manual. Many people, they miss that part, you understand? And so many of them will they draw off of the Zodiac Constitution. And a lot of these people, they do so in order to throw you off from the understanding of what the truth that the prophet represented. So they would rather focus on something else, and they would put your attention on something other than the prophet, where your attention should be 100% with the prophet. They will try to attempt to make you think that his ideas are outmoded or outdated, not showing you and drawing the correlation to the fact that he brought us in the Circle 7 Koran. He revealed the secrets of the ages and taught us the truth about who we are, where we come from. And he built it on this, even though he didn't highlight things so much, he built on that platform and make sure that we have the understanding of many of the things that, like for example, we were taught that the Bible rejects astrology. You understand, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have this use. You see, but it's just the matter. It's the problem is that many of our people have become such slaves to the Lord's self that they refuse to see the measure in what the prophet bought, the practicality of what he bought. Everything has use. Islam. Oh yeah, the science of the stars in chapter 18. Oh yeah, that's another great bill, sister. Let's draw for that. So we can share in these meshes. Islam. Oh yeah. So when we go into chapter 18, we see this is the part, this is one of my favorite chapters too, where that stone was cast aside as a pebble in the brook. That had to be a pretty powerful angel, right? Islam. Islam. That is chapter 18. Yeah, and I think that this is worth a read here. All right. Let's draw. It's a holy day. We got time. All right, Islam. The divine instructions from Holy Prophet, chapter 18. The resurrection of Jesus. Pilate places the Roman seal upon the stone door of the tomb. At midnight, a company of the Silent Brotherhood march about the tomb. The soldiers are alarmed. Jesus teaches to the spirits in prison. Early Sunday morning, he rises from the tomb. The soldiers are bribed by the priest to say that the disciples had stolen the body. The tomb in which they laid the body of the Lord was in the garden, rich with flowers. The garden of Siloam and Joseph's home was near. Before the watch began, Caiaphas sent a company of priests out to the garden of Siloam that they might be assured that Jesus' body was within the tomb. They rolled the stone away. They saw the body there, and then they marched. Then they placed the stone again before the door. And Pilate sent his scribe and placed upon the stone the seal of Rome in such a way that he who moved it would break the seal. To break this Roman seal meant death to him who broke the seal. The Jewish soldiers were all were sworn to faithfulness. and then the watch began. At midnight, all were well, but suddenly the tomb became a blaze of light, and down the garden a troop of white clad soldiers marched in a single file. They came upon the tomb and marched and countermarched before the door. The Jewish soldiers were alert. They thought his friends had come to steal the body of the Nazarene. The captain of the guard cried out to charge. They charged, but not a white-clad soldier fell. They did not even stop. They marched and countermarched amongst the frightened men. They stood upon the Roman seal. They did not speak. They unsheathed not their swords. It was the silent brotherhood. The Jewish soldiers fled in fear. They fell upon the ground. They stood apart until the white-clad soldiers marched away, and then the light about the tomb grew dim. Then they returned. The stone was in its place. The seal was not disturbed, and they resumed their march. Now Jesus did not sleep within the womb. The body is manifest of soul, but soul is without its manifest. And in the realm of souls unmanifest, the Lord went and taught. He opened up the prison doors and set the prisoners free. He broke the chains of captive souls and led the captives to the light. He sat in council with the patriarchs and prophets of olden times, the masters of all the times and climes he met, and in the great assemblies he stood forth and told the story of his life on the earth and of his death in sacrifice for man, and of his promises to clothe himself again in the garb of flesh and walk with his disciples, just to prove the possibilities of man. To give them the key of life, of death, and of the resurrection of the dead. In council, all the masters sat and talked about the revelations of the coming age, when she, the holy breath, shall fill the earth and the air with the holy breath, and open up the way of man to perfectness and endless life. The garden of Salome was silent on the Sabbath day. The Jewish soldiers watched, and no one else approached the tomb. But on the following night, the scene was changed. At midnight, every Jewish soldier heard a voice which said, Adon Masich Kumi, which meant, Lord Jesus, arise. And they supposed again that the friends of Jesus were alert, were coming to take the body of their Lord away. The soldiers were alert, with swords unsheathed and drawn. And then they heard the words again. It seemed as though the voice was everywhere, and yet they saw no man. The soldiers blanched with fear, and still to flee meant death for cowardice. And so they stood and watched. Again, all this was before the sun rose. The heavens blazed with light. A distant thunder seemed to herald forth a coming storm. And then the earth began to quake, and in the rays of light they saw a form descend from heaven. They said, Behold, an angel comes. And then they heard again, Adon Masich Kumi. And then the white robed form trampled on the Roman seal. And then he tore it into shreds. He took the mighty stone in his hand as though it were a pebble from the brook and cast it to the side. Now, y'all know that had to be a pretty big angel. And Jesus opened up his eyes and said, All hail the rising sun, the coming of the day of righteousness. And then he folded up his burial ground, his headbands and his coverings, and laid them all aside. He arose and for a moment stood beside the white robed form. The weaker soldiers fell to the ground and hid their faces in their hands. The stronger stood and watched. They saw the body of the Nazarene transmute. They saw it change from mortal to immortal form. And then it disappeared. The soldiers heard a voice from everywhere. Yea, everywhere it said, Peace, peace on earth, goodwill to man. That's something else. They looked. The tomb was empty, and the Lord had arisen as he said. The soldiers listened to Jerusalem. The soldiers hastened to Jerusalem and to the priests and said, behold, the Nazarene has risen as he said. The tomb is empty, and the body of the man is gone. We know not where it is. And then they told about the wonders of the night. Caiaphas called the council of the Jews and said, the news must not go forth that Jesus has arisen from the dead. For if it does, all men will say he is the Son of Allah, and our testimonies will be proven false. And they said, and then they called 100 soldiers in and said to them, you know not where the body of the Nazarene is resting now. So if you go forth and say that his disciples came and stole the body while you slept, each one of you will have a silver piece, and we will make it right with Pilate for the breaking of the Roman seal. The soldiers did as they were paid to do. Islam. So, again, this is one of the first demonstrations of propaganda that we see, right? Yes. The disciples were the disciplines of are the zodiac signs. Oh yeah. So they represent the energies of the different like from Aries being obedience to Pisces being um, religion. They all of the disciples represent a certain ideal within the solar energy that they're manifesting. So right now we're in the sign of Capricorn. So that means that that energy is dealing with um, benevolence, right? Okay, yeah, benevolence, yes, that's it. So those are ideals that all of the energies represent. And so that corresponds with Circle 7 Koran. And it also shows that we had to receive a certain interpretation of this measure because even though the Bible has its uses and it's good, basic instructions before leaving Earth, the Great Koran of Muhammad has its purpose as far as establishing the theme. But this is part of the reason why the Circle 7 Koran is unique in its expression of religion, the faith, and everything that's been compiled. So we have to understand that we have everything that we needed, but then the interpretation, you know, like when we talk about the four corners of the earth and all of the energy of the prophets that came, and understanding that each and every prophet that's mentioned in our uh, each prophet that's mentioned and on the nationality card is represented. So when you think about it, the Moorish Science Temple of America presents the most complete demonstration as it relates to the trust because everybody is included. We honor all true and divine prophets, Yeshua, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. So that's the measure, Morris. That's it. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off. And like I said, we're going to be more consistent with this truth, putting this information out there for the people because it's very needed. It's greatly needed, and it's powerful that we had a prophet to come to us and drop this truth and teach us the truth about who we are and where we come from. And we should be forever grateful. Um, like I said, I'm going to be more consistent and I'm going to be dropping this measure like we're going to probably do it like every other day. And once we get things built up to the height of where we're going with this, because the people need to have a constant reminder of this truth. So we're going to be coming out, dropping more jewels, dropping more gems. And I love y'all with Never Dying Love. Um, I will be back. Uh, what I need from you all is to support and like the content, support the channel, and spread this information and let other Moors know that we're doing this, because like I said, it's a thankless job and people need to learn to love instead of to hate. This cannot be stressed enough. This is part of what makes us party to the trust. So, share this with everybody share this with all your loved ones. And we are here for questions. So, we can turn this demonstration into a series. Um, support the channels. MST Obey is a Body Politic and Grand Sheik El Love Ill. Support the channels and that content and show your love for Allah and His Prophet. You know, be willing to invest, like the Prophet said, the utmost of your very life. So if you can understand that the sincerity of what this represents, then it should be nothing for you to sacrifice finance. I see a host of people coming out and they have their platforms, they receive finance, but it's like I say, it's a thankless job. You know, we have several different content creators out there that came on the manifest, and they drop it like it's hot. For all these other content creators. But we don't get any cash apps or anything. We not that we are complaining. We've always put the truth out there freely. But you would think that more people would be involved and invested in um, showing their love for Allah and His Prophet. You know, um, I think I can count the times on one hand, and I've been demonstrating this for um, several years now. I think I remember getting a cash app for $100 one time. You understand? And this is after years, years. I'm talking about years of demonstrating. The people don't want the truth. They don't want that. They don't want to demonstrate that. They would rather go and run up under anybody else but the prophet, no Jali, you know. And many of the people who support the prophet, it's not too many of us that support the prophet because I guess it's because they don't see it as where they get something that there's no gain from it. There's a lot of finance and status correction, and people run off to get it done. And we actually have a demonstration where we have been dropping the truth about how that's done, the possibilities that it is in fact possible to be done. Well, you can be on the do not detain list, but the people don't appreciate that. They would rather you give them a get out of jail free card rather than to just refrain from going there in the first place. You see, living a clean and pure life. They don't want to demonstrate the truth of the prophet. They'd rather get caught up into the cares of the world rather than the truth of the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. So we're not here to, you know, debate the truth. The fact is that it takes finance to uplift a nation. And far too many of you do not contribute. But the information has been given freely by this administration for years now, for years. And I'm talking about 15, 20 years. All right. But people can come out with BS and you send them cash, you send them your life savings. Okay. I've seen characters come out here and they try to, basically, they're basically running scams and they're running schemes, but their paperwork doesn't work. So you are willing to accept the beautiful lie than the naked truth. And that's the facts. This is part of the reason why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had such a hard time, because the people were so caught up into themselves and they were so caught up into mental slavery. They were too busy believing in um, the falsehood made manifest. And they believed what the European told them because he would dress up the lie, the fancy lie. All right. And that's true. Workman is worthy of his hire. But we don't get paid for this. And we've been doing this on our own dime for years. You know, the sister, we created the contents. We would and make the investment to put the truth out there on our own dime. All right. So when it all boils down, you know, the people are going to come, but this thing is going to have to be demonstrated like a trust. That means you are going to get whatever. It's just like the lessons say. And it's just like the reality of life. You get out of it what you put into it. So, like the emergency fund or the sick fund, if you never contributed anything to that, then how can you rightfully expect anything to come out of it? We have years invested in making sacrifices for the truth on our own benefit, not expecting anything in return, doing it freely and from our own hearts. This is part of the reason why we have the received the authority to demonstrate the body politic. All right, sacrificing our time, our energy, and our efforts for the liberation of the people. But rarely do people understand the sacrifices that's been made on their behalf. Islam. So I'm grateful to have some Moors out there that do understand. And like I say, we've been out here for years, and it's very rare that we come across people that understand the sacrifices that we made. Very rare, you know. But we've been working on some things where it won't be necessary to draw off of, the people's energy and the finance coming from the people. Because let me just give it to you straight up, honest, Moors. If we were dependent upon the people, we would have been through with this a long time ago. We would not have been able to generate. Um, it would be impossible to fund this demonstration off of the love of the people, because we haven't gotten that. You understand? It is Allah, the great God of the universe, that has blessed us with everything that we've gotten. So that's destiny and that's prophecy being fulfilled, because this world is so full of darkness that the people have yet to learn to love instead of hate. I am love, Leo. So I've been blessed personally in my life to be able to see the manifestation of what the prophet has blessed us with. It's a beautiful thing. I work for Allah. That's why I'm able to still be here before you and demonstrate the measure, because I work for the great God Allah. He's the one that blesses me with health, strength, and I'm grateful. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of us are, we take for granted the valuable things that we have been given and shown. But let me tell y'all more is becoming before this year ends. This is going to be quite a eventful time. Islam. I don't have PayPal, but I do have Cash App. So I will put the Cash App handle in the, I will share that with the people. So if y'all feel the need, because like I said, I don't do this for finance or financial gain, because if that was the case, I would have been out the game a long, long time ago. Believe me, I would have. Cash App is not operating in UK jurisdiction. Well, thank you anyway um, for your the fact that you offered the contribution. And Allah will bless you for your good deeds and for your good intentions. So praise Allah for you. And but actually, we do have a PayPal, but it's you'd probably have to do some research, and I think it's through one of my it's one through my one of my other platforms. It's been so long since I received anything from PayPal, you know. But like I said, it's the intention that counts, and we are blessed to have, you know, the audience that we have. Even if it's just one person, then we've done our job. Like I said, we're going to become more consistent in bringing these truths to the people. Um, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Typically, what we're going to do is we're going to try to contribute anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, so that people will be more consistent in knowing, and then they can, you know, contribute what they can. If they can, it doesn't matter if you can or not. We still charged with putting this truth out there and teaching the people the truth about their nationality and birthrights. So for as many souls as I'm able to reach, that's, you know, that's payment for me right there. Nothing else. Okay. Well, hmm. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We all have opinions, but the facts are, um, we are going to be blessed to be able to demonstrate as far as relates to that trust. We have certain things going, you know, and we've been in court about some things as it relates to finance. So it is what it is. Is that Moorish Dev? Hmm. Well, if you can clarify what your question is, sister, I would hope to Sister Delilah, if you can demonstrate what or rephrase that question, we can address that. Um, but like I said before, we have certain things that as everything unfolds, we've been blessed to be able to demonstrate this trust, and eventually, it's gonna all manifest, and we're gonna be able to have what we need to demonstrate whatever it is. Allah is definitely going to provide, but we're also working towards having a better understanding of what it is that we have. So we're not just sitting on our rear ends. We're constantly working. We're constantly studying to show ourselves approved. And so we'll be able to tap in sooner rather than later. Okay. Um, wow. You said you're coming up with too many names in Cash App. Oh, sister. Let me see if I did that right, because I have Cash App. It's on my other phone too. Maybe what I could do is I could just share what the Cash App handle is. Give me 1 second, Morris. I'll be right back. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share information on my Cash App. They have a Cash App handle. Oh, here it is. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm going to type it in because it was a little different than what I put in. Yeah. Okay. I want to type it in again. All right. Praise Allah. All right, Morris. There it is. Like I say, I appreciate y'all. I'm going to become more consistent in putting this truth out there. Islam, sister. Appreciate you. Oh, there's that jingle. I love it. All right, sisters. Islam. Gratitude. 7 for circle 7. Praise Allah, sister. Praise Allah for you. So, that being said, Moors, there's any questions that you have for me on this platform, I'll be happy to entertain those questions. Make sure you write the questions down, and we'll go into it. You know, let me know what y'all think. I appreciate it, sister. I did get that. Islam. Praise Allah. And everything counts. Everything counts. So, yeah, gratitude for the blessings, sister. And we're going to be doing some things as relates to some information. We're going to be getting into some modern topics. Um, it's been quite a year. We've had a lot of creative content that's come across. We had some things occur, like with some notable characters that had passed away. Um, but what we're going to do is we're going to keep the love strong, popping that love up strong, because that's what our people were missing the most. The need to learn to love instead of hate. You got a lot of these single sisters out here. We're going to be doing more things to encourage our people to link up, to demonstrate the family measure, you know, and just demonstrate this truth, because our people are sick, but the fact of the matter is we were blessed with the divine prophet who dropped so many jewels that it it almost brings me to tears to think about it. And the fact that Allah has been so good to me, I just want to do everything in my power to reciprocate that love and show that love to you all. And I will continue to do the work that I've been called to do. And whoever Allah sees fit to bless me, I'm going to definitely put the blessings back out there and share with the people. You understand? Um, because money is not our problem. We have a problem with learning to love instead of hate. Yes, I do have an email address. I'll put that down there too, sister. We have uh, quite a few email addresses. I'm going to send you the one that we use the most frequently. And that will be a way to ask your questions and anything else that you need. Islam. Okay, so that's the email. Feel free to share that information with others. And we'll be signing off in a few minutes. Looks like we're hitting that 2 hour mark. I'm trying to keep it between an hour and a half to 2 hours so we can be consistent, and you all be able to see when I really lay the schedule out, set it out. Um, I'm going to probably be doing it on Sundays. So tomorrow we take a break. Um, Sundays, Wednesdays, Friday. Well, those will be the 3 days for sure. We're going to try to be most consistent with sharing information and at that particular time. So it will be Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, inshallah. Um, but we probably what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in and do it strong. We got Prophet's birthright is on a Sunday, so you can look forward to that day, and the holy days. We'll be doing it on those days. So it'll be Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Those will be the days for sure. And if we don't do it, so that will be that's those are times that I'm looking to lock in and make sure I share on a consistent basis. And this will be a time that we're going to go into the ministry and share with the people, you know, the truth. So we're going to look to be more consistent with those times because our schedule is so busy, but we'll make the sacrifice of time and effort and energy. And so that's looking like what it's going to be. Islam. I thank Allah for y'all. Gratitude to the sister again. You showed your love, and that's it. That's what's needed. If everybody gave a little bit, that would add up to a lot. You understand? Because as the sister stated, the servant is worthy of his hire, and it ain't too many people that's out here that's trying to serve y'all, especially ones as selfless as I am, as far as it relates to what the prophet brought. Willing to share that information freely, pristinely, and cleanly, so that you all have the truth and divine truth. So that being said, we're gonna end the stream. Is I pray that y'all have a beautiful holy day. You know, uh, this is a great time to be alive. We're gonna see a lot of things manifest, and I'm looking at the next day that we correspond will be at Sunday. So that's going to be New Year's Eve for those who observe or celebrate that. But our Moorish New Year is actually on the 15th of January of each fiscal year. So we'll be looking to get back at y'all on that. That would be the second, I think that would be the second Sunday in the month of January. All right. So check that out. Make sure y'all look at the calendars because I do know that the prophet's birthright is on this the Sunday after next. All right. So we're gonna try to get to y'all on the prophet's birthright. If not, know that we are celebrating. We do observe the prophet Noble Jali's birthright. That is our Moorish Christmas. All right. So that being said, I bid y'all more peace and never dying love. I love y'all. All right. Islam.